Think you made it?
Good morning, afternoon, evening.
So, for the last few days of this, we are actually going to go live in the evenings. You could still watch it at 5 a.m. the next day if you would like. Um, we won't be up at 5 a.m. We have been recording in the evenings and posting it to be scheduled at 5 a.m. Just to keep some kind of a routine. We still feel like that's important, but we also realize that this has been, it makes it a lot more difficult, and there are times when we feel like we're just really trying to push it in and get it done so that he can start uploading. He said like tonight he would be up until midnight trying to get it uploaded and get everything taken care of if we did it the way we've been doing it. I know it took us 18 days to figure that out. But
it took you 18 days to figure that out. Anyway,
I still feel like it's very important to have routine and structure.
It is.
But I realize that we're kind of late in the game on this session to do this, but I just feel like it was too much on him, and it was becoming stressful, and I don't think that's what this should be about.
Yeah. So, our strategy, our routines, and all that stuff will change probably starting next week, but we'll let you know what that's going to be, and we still have to talk about it, work out logistics and all that stuff.
And we will still do Monday.
Small groups,
You guys know who we are, right? I'm Pam, and this is Derek. And you guys know
who
that.
Who are
right?
you? Oh, I'm sorry. This is Pam, your host. I'm your co-host. For 21 days of prayer as we travel. Oh, can't say that. Through
Renewal
through COVID-19, which is apparently never really happened anyway, because if you go to Walmart.
Oh, my goodness.
Never really happened anyway. There's no danger. None.
Yeah, I'm still ordering my groceries.
Go around licking the shopping carts. That's a good idea. Yeah. Put your kids in it and they eat the... Yeah, it's great. Anyway, I digress.
On. Yeah, that might be something we need to focus on here, honey. This might be a good lesson for you this evening.
It's a great day to be alive.
So the next time, we're getting close. We still, we've got 4 days left after this one.
Yeah.
So, we're going to kind of be looking at probably just going live a couple of times a week versus trying to go live every day.
Yeah.
But we want to try to find a study that will work with. We don't want to feel like we're shoving stuff in just to make it those shorter, just 2 days or 3 days a week.
That's not to say we won't have periodic, unscheduled live streams or whatever. We don't know yet. So those suggestions.
I definitely want. We might throw in videos in this because we're like, hey, you guys might be interested in this, or references, or those kinds of things.
Or we might, we don't know. We don't know what we're doing. We're winging it.
I don't think you guys are going to question that we don't know what we're doing.
I know what I'm doing.
They've been around as
we
long
don't
as
know what
now.
we're doing. I know what I'm doing.
There.
So
if I'm wiggling around a lot, I am really sorry. If you guys know Cole Taylor that used to be on our worship team, I am in a fitness program with him, and he's not my friend right now.
Yeah,
I'm in a lot of pain.
I've never heard so much negativity about Cole. Until, all these people are posting all these negative things about Cole.
Goodness gracious, I'm in a lot of pain.
Anyway.
But I
like the guy.
I'm a ninja. If I'm not, I will be when this is all said and done. So if you see me wiggling around, it's because I'm really in a lot of pain. But I'm here for you guys.
Yes. We appreciate that.
Okay.
All right.
What are you doing?
What do you mean what I'm doing?
Give me that.
Oh, man.
Okay.
I always try to take the lead.
Romans 12:17-18. Repay no one evil for evil, but give thought to do what is honorable in the sight of all. If possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. So, I didn't do as much notes on the book today, but And repay no one evil for evil. So, that whole eye for an eye thing.
Yeah.
You gotta be real careful what you're talking about when you,
Yeah.
say all that. So I would say that's pretty cut and dry. Obviously, if someone does something to you, that doesn't mean you have the right to get back at them for it.
Right.
Right. So that's pretty cut and dry. If you have any questions about that, hey, let me know.
That has nothing to do with self-defense, by the way.
Right. Yeah, that's a completely different story. But give thought to do what is honorable in the sight of all. So think about trying to do things honorably. Honorable is worthy of respect.
Yeah.
So if you think about it that way, it's not just doing what's right.
Yeah.
Because, being honorable isn't necessarily simply what's right, because you can do something that's right, but it's not necessarily the honorable thing to do. There's no reason for me to give you respect because you did what you're supposed to do.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So if someone is being just on your case for no reason other than to make you miserable, and you spread their name through to the ground or whatever,
Through the mud.
That's what I'm trying to say. People might say, well, you have a right to do that. People might see that and say, well, you have a right to do that. They are saying these bad things about you. And they may see it as right, but are they respecting you for it?
Yeah, probably not.
They're not respecting you for it.
Okay. So, I don't know. We talked about this right before we started this. When I think of, anytime these conflict scriptures come up, I always think of a work situation. Not now. I keep saying that, and then I'm like, oh, well, not now. In the past. And really in just a few scenarios, a couple of jobs specifically, the conflicts that I had with people they revolved around the things that people were doing. And I have said before that typically when the person that I'm angry with or having issues with stops doing the thing they were doing, I'm cool at that point, unless it's progressed over months and months. And then even in a scenario where I had a boss that was relentless in his pursuit of just trying to not just me, but people in general, to hurt them over a period of time. And then there was this span of time where he was trying to make amends with everyone and do the right things. And over a period of time, I never lost my distrust for him, but my animosity towards him faded. But being that he was in an authority position, I always treated him with respect as a boss. So I think that was a pursuit, an example at least of a pursuit of peace. And then on the other side of that, being in a supervisory role, I had employees who were hostile towards their bosses. So it was just kind of the both sides of that. But a lot of those conflicts were resolved with just conversations. And you got to admit when you're wrong, but you also have to be able to accept the fact that you're not going to win everybody over. So some of those conflicts you don't resolve, but at least there's a confrontation that happens in a respectful way. What do you call that?
Confrontation in a respectful way. I agree with those terms.
Yeah. In a diplomatic way. There you go.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it puts the stop on the conflict. Even if they didn't agree with you didn't agree with them, you can resolve those things in a peaceful way. And sometimes you do explain to the person, or they explain why they were offended. Whatever. Lots of scenarios. Lots of scenarios.
And something it points out in the book here in the points to ponder is said, it's more common to lash out in anger than it is to reach out in hopes of understanding one another. Yeah. And understanding what they're saying here doesn't mean that you're going to agree with each other necessarily, but understanding why the person feels that way. And a lot of times if you're going to do that, unless there are people that are just mean, they're just mean-spirited. Yeah. But if that's not the case, if you reach out to somebody about it and say, I don't agree with you, but I really don't want to argue with you. I just want to understand why you feel the way you do. Generally, when you approach the subject that way, they're going to want to understand you as well. Yeah. So, again, that's being honorable. You have every right to argue with somebody and disagree with them openly. You do have that right. There's no one saying that you can't do that. But to be honorable would to say, you know what? You have the right to be heard. I want to hear what you have to say. And whether they want to hear what you have to say or not, allow them the chance to speak their mind and explain, why they're coming from where they're coming from. Especially if you're talking about non-believers. Yeah. It's very hard not to argue with a non-believer because you know that your thoughts, your feelings, your faith is right. Yeah. And it's very hard not to argue with them. But I would ask you in that point, what is your purpose behind what you're doing? Because if your purpose is to be right and to prove to them that you're right, you're doing it all wrong. Because if you're just trying to prove to them how stupid they are, you're never going to win over a soul that way. Yeah.
You can win an argument and lose the fight completely. And that's not... that's the pursuit of peace right there. Yeah. And you may never win them over. You're planting seeds and you're planting goodwill, I guess. They're seeing that you're more concerned with introducing them to the person you know than converting them, I guess.
I would say, with my brother particularly, we had went over and had, can't wait till we can do it again, honestly. We'd had some conversations with him. He's a non-believer, but he is not ignorant of the teachings because we were raised the same way. We were raised in church. And I approached him about interviewing him about his thoughts on different things. And at first, he was kind of like, Pam. And I said, no, listen. I said, I want this to be a completely respectful thing. I want to know your thoughts. I'm not trying to sway you anyway. And I told him, I was like, hey, if you come to God through this, I will be so happy. Yeah. But, in all honestly, I'm hoping seeds are planted and he does come to God because he's my brother and I love him and I want I want him to be saved. But I just told him, I want to be respectful. I don't want to argue because a lot of times in our, like Christmas, Thanksgiving, all our family gatherings, when God would come up, there was an argument. And so we stopped discussing God. Neither one of those things are okay. Right. So, I just wanted to kind of talk to him about it and the difference between the way he would speak to us when there was an argument and there was people trying to prove him wrong and him trying to prove us wrong and, all that stuff. The difference between that and me sitting down and saying, okay, I get why you're saying that, but this is how I feel about that. So explain to me, this is what I'm saying. Explain to me if I'm wrong. And there was a lot more of an open discussion. Yeah. And I got to actually hear that he actually believes a lot of the things that are based in Christianity that I don't even think he realizes that he believes it that deeply. Yeah. And I think that when you are more respectful of people, whether they deserve it or not, you're going to find that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Man, I could talk about that for a long time.
And not that my brother didn't deserve the respect. I need to stop that.
Yeah.
Not that he didn't deserve the respect. He did, but I'm just saying in any situation, whether they deserve it or they don't deserve it.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying we should continue on this side.
Continue on.
Because that could go for a long time.
It could.
There's so much. And since that came up, if you know someone that has questions and wants to be interviewed,
yes,
mutually understanding that we're not trying to convert them. If they come to God, great, but they're also not trying to convert us.
The thought behind it is, and because I don't have other people that are non-believers that I could have that rapport with.
Yeah.
My brother is the only one I've talked to, although I would love to continue to talk to my brother. The idea behind it is to learn what non-believers from different backgrounds, why they believe the way they do, what they think of what Christians are saying to them. I want to know. I don't want... A pastor can tell me, and I know a pastor knows. But a pastor that has never been there isn't going to be able to tell me the way someone who never believed in God and whose parents never believed in God, they're not going to be able to tell me why they feel the way they do.
Yeah. And it's different for everybody. I mean, you may have somebody that left and is hostile. So, I mean, they have legitimate feelings that could be addressed, or maybe they were taught something that is inappropriate, or there are thousands of variables. So, long story short, we want to have those conversations, those hard conversations, without the promise of providing answers for. We want to hear the questions and the objections, I guess, with the understanding that we are going to provide feedback, but not in an effort.
It would need to be a mutually respectful situation. Yeah. It would have to. The conversation would have to stop if the person became aggravated, I guess. Yeah. Not to say that there wouldn't be some frustration, because obviously there is anytime you have that kind of conversation, but to become agitated and aggravated to the point to where
abusive.
It feels abusive. Yeah. But we're just saying all that because if you know somebody, that would be great. But if you know somebody and you know that they just want to find a reason to fight with a Christian, those are not the people you want to talk to right now.
Not us.
No. And the end result in all of this is to be able to speak to non-believers about our faith, coming from a viewpoint of knowing at least basically what they're seeing, what they're hearing when we're talking to them.
And what we glean from those conversations will give us some of the material and answers that we need for future conversations. Mm-hmm. So.
And plus, I think the people that we're talking with, my brother or whoever else, I think that'll give them, obviously it's going to plant seeds, which is amazing. Yeah. But it will also give them maybe an experience they've never had before. Yeah. Because we never at any point, well, I think maybe it was hard. Like a couple of times I think we had to back down and realize what we were doing. But we tried not to at any point sway him from his thinking. Yeah. And it was more of a matter of, okay, but to me, you're saying this, and this is what I think. So, am I seeing what you're saying wrong? And he was easily able to tell me the difference.
Yeah. And sometimes sometimes it was just, okay, so let me ask you a question and get their feedback. So we digress.
We do. Actually, that goes along with what this is saying, because we are in such an argumentative society, and we have the right, that we forget that sometimes our rights aren't what's important. And that's a hard statement to hear. That's a hard statement to say, that sometimes your rights are not important. Yeah. So we just have to kind of we have to learn that, I think, in every aspect of our lives, that, we need to, instead of arguing with somebody and trying to prove them wrong, because you're never going to win somebody in any type of argument if you're just trying to prove them wrong. Anytime someone's trying to prove you wrong, you feel like they're telling you you're stupid, are you going to listen to them? No. You're not going to have any respect for them. And so, I mean, I think that's really important. We just have to figure out a better way to, maybe to get our point across, because sometimes that's important, but make sure that we're trying to get our point across for someone's safety or someone's future, not because in that moment we want to be right.
Yeah, if you go in with an agenda, they will smell it and they will chew you up.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Most non-believers in particular, and this isn't just about non-believers, I mean, this can happen between a brother and a sister,
yeah.
right? But most non-believers, as soon as they hear you're Christian, immediately, they're like, this person is just out to convince me that they're right and I'm wrong.
Yeah, the assumption is that you have an agenda going
always.
And so, after the first 2 or 3 conversations, when you haven't asked them,
are you ready
to receive Christ and
right.
pray?
I do know,
my prayer?
Because Lloyd said several times, he's like, I don't know what you expect to get out of this. He's like, I'm not going to become a Christian just because we're having these conversations. He said that a few times. And as the conversations went on, he stopped saying that. And he has come and visited us one time since this whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
And he said, so have you guys interviewed anybody else? And I missed it. I missed the opportunity because he was coming to visit, and I knew after he left why he was asking me that, because he was interested in conversating more about it. So we're not done. That's going to happen. People are starting to get out and about. My brother, he's kind of a recluse anyway, so he said,
he's safe.
He said, oh, I'm doing great with the whole COVID thing. He said, I think I'll just continue this afterwards. I'm just doing my part. That sounds about right. So we'll probably go visit him before we will a lot of other people, just because he really isn't out and about with a lot of people. He doesn't like to just go hang out in crowds. So, okay, the second part of this was, if possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all.
Yeah.
So what it's saying, so far as it depends on you, is if you're in control of having this peace with people, continue to do that.
Yeah.
But as they pointed out, the world that crucified Christ doesn't always want the peace that he offers. So sometimes there's just no way, nothing at all that you can do to have peace with somebody.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's not what they want, and they will do anything in the world to keep that from happening.
Yeah. Sometimes if possible, sometimes separation from the person is just the means that you have to go through.
Yeah. And don't forget to continue to check in, though. I mean, because a year from now, a week from now, you don't know. It depends on their situation. Maybe something happened and they're ready for that peace. Yeah. And then that's just, that doesn't mean like, oh, great, you're in a good mood. Hey, you ready to, be saved?
Yeah.
Build a relationship slowly. Just because they're ready for peace at that moment doesn't mean they're ready for you to attack. So,
then there's always the scenario where you've got somebody who's hostile towards you, and I don't know, maybe their sibling or mother or somebody is in the hospital, and you send them a meal or something like that. They may continue to be hostile and aggressive towards you. However, it burns them worse than it does you at that point. Because they know
that's true.
They know that you did something good for them.
That's true, but I wouldn't say do it for that reason.
No, I'm not saying do it for that reason. I'm
just saying. Go ahead.
Let me just twist that around. Anyway, as I was saying, if you seek peace, Jesus said, blessed are the peacemakers. Mm-hmm. So he also said, do good to those who persecute you. Pray for those who are against you. I don't remember exactly. I'd have to look.
All of those words?
All those words and stuff.
Should probably
Bible!
This is
Get
your
one.
Bible.
Get one. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
So what does this tell you about God?
I forget these questions are in here every single time.
Do.
Every time I forget these questions in here. Oh, what does this say about God? Well, it says he's a good author. That's what it says. He's a great author. He wrote this.
Yes, he did.
Pay no one for evil. Evil for evil. Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
Repay no one evil for evil, but give thought to do what is honorable in the sight of all. If possible, as far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. I would say that says that God feels like we're not just one of us is important, although he loves each and every one of us specifically. He knows that I am not more important than you. You are not more important than me. We are equally important, and so we need to live in harmony. I think we just talked about that.
yeah.
Which, how are you going to live in harmony unless you're willing to do these things?
Here, just tell you about yourself.
Oh, look at you turning that around. This tells me that. Oh gosh. I try very hard. I do try very hard to live by this. I do. I would say I do a decent job of it for the most part, because the worst that I do to a person that is just, again, like you said, a lot of times I'm thinking about work.
Yeah.
When there's a conflict is I try to go to them and I try to talk gently to them. And if they continue, just kind of elevate it in steps. Because if the thing needs to be resolved, it needs to be resolved, right? But there are those people that don't want peace. And so at that point, when I realize there's nothing I'm going to do to make peace with this person, I will go to a supervisor.
Yeah.
I mean, and sometimes I may be angry when I get to that supervisor. Because by that point, I've already tried a lot. And, I'm one of those people that I cry when I'm really happy or cry when I'm really sad, but I really cry when I'm mad. And when I start crying and bawling, it makes me even more mad. So by the time I get to the supervisor, I'm a wreck. But, so I guess at that point, it's frustrating. It's frustrating because, I guess, and that's what this tells me about myself, is that I need to really work on that. Not just because doing the actions, but I need to have peace about it. Because I don't. I mean, I try really hard because I know this is how I'm supposed to do it.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe I have peace about it a lot more than a lot of people. Because this just seems to go against your grain. You have the right. You should be able to do these things. Or you don't have to, you don't have to reach out and try to be peaceful with somebody. And for the most part, I would say I'm okay with it, but I don't have peace with it because I do still feel like I have the right.
Yeah.
But I know it's not okay. So, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Did I stumble over a bunch of words? But, I mean...
It's a process.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, it's habit. So I guess it's not as difficult as it would be for other people that don't just practice that. But I still need to be okay with it more than I am sometimes.
It's hard.
It is hard. It is hard. But I mean, and it's also frustrating from the other point too, because you'll hear people. It just gets me in the heart, man, when I hear someone saying, I don't know, like, when I hear, like, someone is getting their revenge secretly against somebody, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, but really? Yeah. Really? You're not going to be okay with that. Like, when this is all said and done, all of your anger's still going to be there, but it's going to be worse, because...
Because now you validated that.
Yeah, and, so it really gets me in the heart, not for the other person as much, I mean, somewhat.
Yeah.
Because I'm always the kind of person that I try to think of, why are they doing this? Why are they like this? But, so I have, I have like those emotions for that person, but I also have emotions for the person in here that feels like they are validated in what they're doing because of what the other person did. And I'm like, well, you're really not though. And so the other side of me is like, oh, I don't know. I have a real battle with this one, I guess. So, how would this change your life if you took it seriously?
It's a good question.
It is a good question. Why don't you answer that?
Leave your answers in the comments. Comments below.
Are you living a peaceful life?
I mean, for the most part, I think so, yeah. I mean, there's internal things that we all have, I think.
I mean, I would say, because we asked each other these questions right before we started, and I would say 75% that I'm living a peaceful life. He said that's not good enough. We're all or nothing.
Yeah.
But I would say 75% compared to where I was a year ago.
You're doing much better.
Yeah, I would say so.
Me too.
I'm battling the anxiety. I've talked about that before. But some days is worse than others. And I get to have these like hot flashes where I'm boiling from the inside out. I had a really bad one right before we started this video, actually. But it's just things like that. It's I want to almost say chemical anxiety, but I don't really think that's what it is. I think that I allowed situations to get to me so much that now, like,
it's your default response.
Well, it's almost like I allowed my bucket of anxiety to get really full.
Yeah. And
so now every drop spills over. I mean, that's the best way I know how to explain it. But if you'd asked me that a year ago, I would say no. Like, I would not be able to say I was living a peaceful life at all.
Right.
At all. Like, it was not okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess it's just a continuing work in progress. And in order to do that, because the next question was, does it feel full of strife? Yes, it does. Does that mean that the strife's not there? No, the strife's there. And it's going to be there. It's always going to be there. It's never going to stop. And I can either dwell on that, or I can tell myself when I wake up in the middle of the night having an anxiety attack because I dreamed something that I can't even remember that I dreamed. I just wake up with these emotions knowing that I dreamed something bad. So I can either allow myself to focus on how bad I'm feeling, which is what I did for a year or two. Or I can say, okay, first of all, you don't even know why you're feeling this way. Even if you knew why, it wouldn't be a good enough reason to feel this way. And as long as you keep letting this take control in this moment, it's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I have to actually say to myself, sometimes I have to say it out loud. When Derek's asleep, every once in a while I'll, like, whisper it, so I don't wake him up. But to say, is it real? And a lot of times I can go, wait, no, because I'm laying in bed in my home that's, being paid off, no problems, that, we have electricity, the house is too cold, which means our air conditioner's working great. It's just a matter of working through all that. So how can you pursue peace in a healthy way?
I think it's just a daily, I think thankfulness is a big one.
Yeah.
I noticed the times when I am the most thankful, I'm the least anxious. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that and trying to understand if someone is screaming and yelling at you and all you can hear is that they're screaming and yelling at you.
Yeah, that's rough.
You're not going to get any peace in that situation.
No. Throat punches go to jail, so. Yeah.
Right. If someone is screaming and yelling at you, and I'm not saying it's easy.
Yeah.
But even in the middle of that situation, if you can think, why are they screaming and yelling? Do they have a right to? No. I'm a firm believer that no one has a right to scream and yell at you. They just don't. And I'm a firm believer in that. But think about why. That doesn't mean you can't stand up for yourself. But think about why, and it won't have as much hold on you.
Yeah.
If you realize that this person is human, they're more than likely screaming and yelling at you because they feel unsafe in some way or another. And I know that sounds weird, but if you really get down to it, pretty much any issue that we have is based on fear,
Yeah.
and is based on not feeling safe. And so there's that Maslow's hierarchy of needs and those kinds of things. And look that up; it's pretty interesting. But if your needs aren't being met, then you act out, right? So if you try to think about that, like they're having a need that they feel is not being met. And it doesn't mean they have the right to treat you the way they are. It doesn't mean you can't tell them to stop treating you that way.
Right.
But it won't have as much of a hold. And you'll be able to speak in that situation with a firmer ground versus being all emotional and crying like a big baby. Like I do.
Unlike a ninja.
Unlike a ninja. I'm a ninja. All right.
Let's wrap this up.
Let's wrap it up. This is Prayer to Pray. I am going to pray. I'm going to read this to you. This is just to lead you into the line of thought. Derek's going to pray us out, but you should take this moment afterwards and just take a moment with God, even if it's 2 minutes. Maybe you don't have a lot of time. Take this moment with God and say, God, lead me into time with you. Lead me into a relationship with you, Lord. What do I need to do? When can I show me how to find more time for you? Just whatever you need to do. If it's 2 seconds that you have, use those 2 seconds.
Yeah.
2 seconds is better than none. Right? Okay, let's go. Hey, Father, thank you for making peace with me through the sacrifice of Jesus. It's only because of the vertical peace that I have with you that I can seek it with others. Help me identify situations and people that need a peaceful spirit. Likewise, show me if there are any situations I should walk away from. In Jesus' name, amen.
God, thank you again for the time that you've given us and the privilege of coming here together and discussing these things, God. Thank you for the content, I guess. Thank you for bringing things to light through these conversations that we need to work on. Thank you for the experiences, even if they were bad, that give us the hindsight to look back on and learn from and to grow. God, I pray that as we continue through this coming out of this quarantine and this pandemic, give us the integrity and the wisdom to walk through it with patience. Help us to pursue peace in the grocery stores and in our daily lives as we go out of seclusion into the public life again. Help us to do that with ease and with grace, God. I ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, guys. So we'll go live again
Tomorrow.
Thursday night.
Yeah.
Which I guess will be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday will be our last day for this.
For this one, yeah.
Yeah. So, and on Sundays we go live after church.
Yeah.
Because we're not trying to take place of your church service. But we like to get Sundays done during the day since we're up and around and we've seen our service and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll go live in the evenings until Sunday, and Sunday will be the last day. We'll discuss a little bit more on Sunday what we're going to be doing going forward.
Yes.
And Monday at
small groups
7 p.m. we're doing a Zoom small group. If you do not have a Zoom account and you want to be in the small group, get in touch with us. Just send us an instant message or something, and we'll get you set up with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Goodbye.